I find it affects sometimes my work, my videos, our videos. And we've never really talked about anxiety and mental health and stuff in the vlogs because I've always been afraid of showing that side in these vlogs.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We figured 2021, it's a new year. We wanted to try something a little bit different this year or add something in that's a little bit different than our normal everyday vlogging style, which we obviously love. But we wanted to do something a little bit different that's really getting connected with you guys again. And we thought about doing a series where it's basically we talk about a particular subject one day a week. It's like
It's almost like a podcast, but it's more of a mini series within the CTFxC.
Yes. We're coming up with a name for it, but what we're thinking
That might be something you guys can tell us.
Yeah, what we're thinking is like, let's talk about it today, or like what, something along those lines.
We have no idea.
You guys can help us out with the title of this particular series. We asked you guys on Instagram what topic you would like us to talk about.
I'd say out of all of the hundreds that were like submitted, probably we got 20 or 30 about mental health.
And how we deal with it in our relationships, how we deal with it in our job, things like that. So we thought, you know what, it seems like a pretty unanimous topic that individuals are really excited and interested in hearing our side of or our experience with it. So this is gonna be the first one of this series.
Which is a good one because I feel like a lot of people suffer from things like that and just don't talk about it and are afraid to talk about it. We don't hide it, but we just generally don't show everything in the vlogs, especially if we're having a hard day or if you have like a bad head, like right now I have a horrible headache. Things like that, you don't want to come off as complaining because the job of videos on the internet is to entertain, positivity and entertainment.
And that's what we strive for every day, is to present to you guys like a positive side of our life. But obviously you guys, obviously you guys know that that's not reality for anyone. Human. We're all human. We all go through hardships and we all have difficult days along with good days. So we're gonna get right into it. And I think one of the first questions revolving around mental health was, how do we deal with mental health in our relationship?
Actually, I don't even know how to answer that.
I know. I feel like that's like a really interesting one. And I think that...
It's like I had something in my head, but then I trailed out. I lost it.
So I think like maybe what that question is really like narrowing down to is like when we're having difficult times in our relationship, which can cause a lot of like mental and emotional strain on each other.
Right.
How do we deal with that? What are like some issues maybe that we've experienced, and how do we kind of overcome those things? So mental health is such a, for me, if you don't mind me speaking, it's such an interesting topic because like Char says, I feel like it is subjective, and I think everybody's experience is different. And for instance, in our relationship, obviously no relationship is perfect. Sometimes our mental health struggles because we disagree. So we have strains on our relationship and we don't know how to necessarily communicate to each other how we're feeling, or we have a difficult time figuring out how to communicate our differences, if that makes sense. And
which can then affect the way we feel and think that day, and then it puts you in a different mood, mentally affecting you and emotionally affecting you.
With our relationship really boils down to our individual mental health. I don't think it's necessarily mental health as a couple, which I felt like I needed to answer it that way. But if, you know, now thinking about it, it's not really about mental health as a couple, it's mental health individually. And I think that there are days where I'm much more upbeat than Charles is. He might be going through something that is really difficult on him, or he doesn't know how to discuss. And then for me, it can be really hard to understand why you feel that way and vice versa.
And then mentally messes with you because you think of something else.
Oh yeah.
And then I get stressed out because you can't read my mind or something.
Yeah, or you don't want to share. So ways that we've kind of experienced our mental struggles is we try our best to talk to each other about it. And we still struggle with that. Communication. I think communication really helps.
One of the hardest things.
Yeah. I think communication is like a huge part of understanding what's going on in your head or understanding how you're feeling, because mental health has a lot to do with, I think, your physical feeling as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like what's going on in your head. I think it, you know, it affects so much
It's
deeper.
kind of, it's what is it, symbiotic. So it's like your mental health affects your physical health. Physical health affects your mental health. And if they're not lined up, it'll affect your relationship because you can't line that all up. I feel like a lot of relationships, whether it's like marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, or just friendship,
Or even like relationships with your family members and friends.
if you're not in the right mindset, it will eventually affect those relationships. So I think for Allie and I, we kind of, I mean, we'll be completely honest, we do have problems communicating sometimes with things like that.
I'm not afraid to admit
No,
that.
I mean, like everyone does, but
Listen to
like,
us. We're both bullheaded.
yeah,
As my
stubborn.
mother says.
Yeah, stubborn.
My mom says I'm bullheaded.
Bullheaded. I think
Yes.
my mom says that too. But at the same time, it's not necessarily the relationships that's the stressful, mental, like mentally straining thing. It's more of if I'm going through something and I can't verbally communicate it because I can't think about the things. Like, have you ever had something when you're like, you know, you feel a certain way, but you can't figure out how to express that except anger or frustration? Like, if you were able to somehow express in a calm manner, which everyone, if you ever are anxious or frustrated, it's never a calm situation. So if you can't communicate in a stressful situation, it will then trickle over and affect another situation that you're in, whether it is a relationship or not.
The next question that a lot of people asked
Thanks.
was, are mental health and anxiety revolving around our career, YouTube? Like how
Our job,
how do you
yeah.
think your job affects your mental health?
I would have to say, doing this for the longest time.
I'm sorry. I'm a little
This
kid.
one, though, on the other hand, is the one that helps both of us. I
That's
think.
another question they asked about
Oh, really?
parenting.
Parenting?
Yeah, we'll definitely touch on
that's
that
an
one.
easy one.
Okay.
But as far as the job, there's definitely moments of just anxiety and frustration.
100% stress.
Doing this for 15 years, so I've seen every wave possible on YouTube. So it's very stressful emotionally and physically to keep up with that stuff, and it's often very, very hard to, when you boil it down. For me, stresses me out mentally, emotionally, and definitely physically, to where I find it affects sometimes my work, my videos, our videos.
Content that we
The
put out.
content we put out. And we've never really talked about anxiety and mental health and stuff in the vlogs because I've always been afraid of showing that side in these vlogs because I always wanted to keep that in the back burner. Like, I'm dealing with this thing. Let me deal with
Shows a
this
sense
thing.
of vulnerability
Yes.
that you're not comfortable with.
Right now, revealing a shade kind of thing because I always come off as somebody who is like relatively positive in the videos, and that's not to say that I'm not, but in the back of my head it's very stressful to, I want to say be that way, but very stressful to portray that multiple times, especially if you are going through something. I don't know if that makes much sense, but
I get what you're
I
saying.
think the job, not just of YouTube, a job of being on the internet.
There comes a lot of responsibility with it, and there
It's a
comes
lot.
like it's like a different responsibility than I think a lot of people understand unless you do it for a living.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to understand.
You have to present yourself, your family, your life. I don't want to say you have to present it as picture perfect, but I feel like that's what a lot of people, even if they don't say it, they expect it.
Yeah.
And that really sets the bar very, very high for us. So, and the fact that this is a very over flooded career choice, there's also this stress that comes with this job where you're constantly in competition with one another. You're constantly in competition to
You're
have,
trying to one up each other.
to one up each other, or to have better content, or to film better, or to make something more interesting, or to reveal more, or to reveal less, or to be a family vlogger, or to be an adventurer, to be, I mean, like there's so much stress that really does come with this job where I think it really tests our mental health at times. And I think it also makes us kind of question what we do on these vlogs as well, which is something that I think every individual deals with, you know, questioning whether or not you're making the right choices in life. And
Yeah, this
what-
can go beyond.
You know, it goes beyond just what our job is. But the thing that makes it so different with what we do is that it's shown to all of you guys, which could be hundreds of people, could be thousands of people, could be even more than that. And then you have all the opinions of people out there that are given to you, you know.
And it affects the way you think.
And then it affects the way you think, and it affects the content that you produce. So it's like this like constant circle that is never ending. It's like a hamster on a hamster wheel. You know, they just keep running and running and running. And I can tell you that this job has definitely, for me, taken a toll on my mental health at times, especially at the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah.
It was really, really hard on me mentally, and it's just a very interesting job. Do I think it's that way always? Absolutely not. We've had way more positive days than we have negative, but I would be lying to you if I said that we don't push ourselves to the limit when it comes to this job, because we never, I think we find you guys to be so, well, one, this is our job, but two, you guys mean so much to us, and I think a lot of people say that and they're like, oh, that's so corny, why would you say that? But we genuinely mean that. We genuinely mean that we love you and you mean so much to us. And so when we do something in this realm of our job that disappoints you, or you don't find interesting, or you're annoyed with, or you don't want to watch because it seems boring, like, it takes a toll on us. Not that it's your fault, but it's like that's what comes with the job and the mental side of this territory.
You focus on statistics and numbers and superficial things like that don't really matter in life, that any other job, any other profession doesn't really focus on. That's why I think a lot of YouTubers, and I'd say a lot of comedians, suffer from things like that. Anxiety, stress, mental health things, because you're portraying something
that's not realistic.
That's not necessarily realistic. It's still you, but you're trying to cope with it in a different way.
Yeah. It's hard, you know, especially when we were filming every day. You know, Charles and I had a lot of struggles to where it was like there was days when we were really, really exhausted, or we had a fight and we had to put a face on, which you probably would have never known, but we did it because it was our job. And it's not that we were being fake, but it was like,
it's not that necessarily
we just didn't show the negative side.
Hey Diesel, how's it going, buddy?
Which obviously is represented to you. Hi, buddy. Which obviously is represented to you guys that everything is good and dandy when, hi, buddy, can you go lay down?
So before I kind of go down
down that rabbit hole,
the rabbit hole of negativity, mentally, on the flip side, it affects, you know, your mental health positively
too. Yeah.
I've gone through a lot of crap, and I've shared it all online. Probably things that I probably shouldn't have.
I wouldn't say that, but probably things that like are difficult to share.
Or more like sensitive.
Personal, yeah.
But I did it because mentally, I'll be completely honest. With all the surgeries and things like that, people are like, how do you do it? I was actually just talking about this to a friend of mine. They're like, how do you deal with it? I'm like, a lot of it's denial. And not in the sense of like, oh, what, that sounds really bad to say, but it's more of like, I would be feeling these ways, but then I would like come online and I would have so much support from you guys, I would kind of trick my brain into a more positive situation. Basically, you guys are all my psychiatrists. But like, straight I was going through like the surgeries and things like that, I was over here, like, you know, not depressed, but like having the realization of how, just what I'm looking for, how serious something could be. And then I had this side where it was like, you know, showing how positive everything is. I brought those two things together, and then that's how I was able to mentally go through and share the things that I did. And it worked both ways. Some people took it positively, some people took it negatively, and then of course, you know, it comes back.
But how did it affect your mental health? Like, how did, like, you know, even though there's like negativity and like anxiety that can come from this job, there's also like a positive side.
So for example, let's say you were so stressed out about something so stupid, like YouTube for me, getting stressed out by numbers, like views going down, you know, things like that.
Which is a big stressor.
That's a huge stressor. But so you get, like, this is an honest thing, like, you know, getting stressed out about, you know, views, numbers, things like this, stats and all that. But then I stop and I walk away and I go play with Remy,
She learns a new word.
And then she learns something new.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because we were doing something. It really honestly affects your mental health because it has changed in a more positive way. So just because mental health has such this negative connotation, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's always negative. It just means your state of mind.
Hang on, hold tight. The dog has to go to the bathroom. Really quick, open the door. Hold tight. Everybody get excited. Everybody stretch, because I know this is a long vlog. Stretch. So, how would you say your mental health is at this current moment in time?
I feel like I have a lot of anxiety, but I also feel like I have a lot of things on my plate. But mentally right now, today, I would say,
in this seat.
This floor, I would say I do have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of it stems. Yeah, a lot of it does stem from YouTube and our job, which is so stupid to think about. But I think everyone,
understands.
Everyone's got a job they're probably stressed out about. So I don't want to complain about that.
You could be playing with puppies for a living and still have stressors.
You're picking up pee and poop all the time, so you're stressed out. But that doesn't mean anything as far as any different. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Every job, I think everyone has a different variation of stress, like a stress level.
Yeah.
And for me, that would be where I am.
I think I have to agree. Like right now, I feel like my mental health is. I'm in a good spot, but I feel
we're positive.
Like we're positive people, but it's not about positivity. I think it's that am I in tune with my mental health? And I think right now I'm in tune with my mental health, but I don't think I'm at the peak of like where I would be happy with where I'm at, in the sense of I am very stressed.
Where you could be kind of
like I know that right now the stressors and the anxiety side of my mental health is really like outweighing the more unstressed out side, you know? I think it does have a lot to do with our job and our career. I think it has to do with just things that have happened over the past couple of years in our lives. And I think it's something that I put on the back burner, was focusing on my mental health. I think a lot of people do that. We put our mental health on the back burner because we don't think it's that important. And I forget who I was talking to. It might have even been your sister, Melissa. It was Melissa. Melissa for Christmas got me this book. Not a book. It's called the 6-Minute Journal. And every day you just write for 6 minutes, and you can write about anything that you want. Your good times, your bad times. You could talk about anything and everything that you want. But it's about dedicating 6 minutes to yourself. You know, kind of either talking out your feelings.
It's like venting.
Yeah, and you know, we had this conversation last year before Christmas about how a lot of people do. We forget about focusing on our mental health and how important and taking the time for yourself and reminding us how important it is to maintain a more positive mental state and not allowing the stressors or the anxiety that is all around us, which is inevitable, to take over. And I could say that over the past year, that's definitely been something that's kind of consumed me more than that. So my mental health is not perfect, but I'm working on it, and I'm trying my best every day to get better with that. What are some things that help you with anxiety? What are some things that help you stay positive when you're feeling negative?
Honestly, it always comes, like we talked about earlier, a lot of it helps with Remy. You go and you have fun with her, you play, I'll take her out back. The dogs, take them for a walk. I generally take a walk every single night to kind of...
By himself too.
I don't bring a phone.
We need that sometimes.
I don't bring anything like that. I just disconnect myself, and that's usually a way I can kind of separate myself, and kind of like the journal thing where you have your own thoughts kind of thing.
And for me, when I feel anxious, because I don't talk about that a lot. I've had some anxious moments that I've never shared, but when I'm anxious, sometimes for me, believe it or not, he helps me out a lot. When I need to breathe.
But I also can cause it.
You can cause it, but I can cause yours, and that's very true. It happens in a relationship. But I love to run, and I love to exercise, and I love to be outside, and that will help me out a lot. Or I take a bath, or I listen to music. Music helps me out so much. Sometimes I don't do it that often anymore, but I used to literally say, Charles, I'm gonna go take a bath, and I will have a glass of wine, and I will listen to music, and I'll do it for a half hour, 45 minutes sometimes. And that really helps me when I feel anxious or I feel stressed out. And I think for me with mental health, I think that it is so important to take time to one, kind of like talk with yourself. That sounds corny, it sounds weird, but like really get in tune with yourself. And if you're feeling crappy, try and find out why you're feeling crappy. And if it's something that you can eliminate in your life to keep you from feeling crappy, that's what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean,
or you just need to figure out a different way to make it work.
And we can talk to you guys a million times about how we deal with things and how we feel, but at the end of the day, we realize it doesn't necessarily affect the way you feel.
Yep.
And because everyone's different. And what we're going to do is in the description, we're going to give you guys as much information as we possibly can of people and websites that you can call or contact and
if
read
you're
about.
Feeling a certain way,
because you shouldn't be alone. You're not alone. Mm-hmm. We're telling you right now.
We've talked to people before. You know, we've talked to each other. We've talked to friends and family. We've seeked professionals, and there's no shame in that.
Yeah. So we will put all that information, and we just at the end of this first topic, we just want to. This is actually a really good topic to start.
I liked this one.
Yeah.
I actually feel less stressed right now.
Yeah, a little bit. Now Diesel's
I
barking.
feel less stressed, don't you?
So what we want you guys to do now is for the second topic, in the description of the comments, in the comments, I want you guys to give us the next topic that we should speak about, and we will hopefully get to it the next one or the following one.
What day a week would you guys like to hear this too? Because we were thinking Tuesdays, but this one's going out on a Friday, so it might be a weekend vlog. Thanks for all your suggestions. We hope you enjoyed today's vlog. And we're gonna go get Diesel inside because he's not happy with us.
But anyway, we'll see you guys later.
Be sure to check all that information out below, okay?
And please remember you're not alone. And I think at the end of the video, end of the day, that's what we want to come off with this video. Anyway, we'll see you guys later. Diesel, I'm coming.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.